From the William B. Travis Building in Austin, Texas, we're keeping Texas energy on track. Here's your host, Bryce Doobie.
Welcome to Texas Energy on Track. I'm your host, Bryce Doobie, joined as always by our producer here / co-host, Nick Cranock. This is the official podcast for the Railroad Commission of Texas. Thrilled as always to have you here. Nick, how are you doing?
Ready to get back at it, of course. Always love recording the episodes. It's good to be here in another fascinating topic. So, excited.
This is one, full disclosure on my background. I was a history major back in the day and spent lots of times throughout that time doing research and all sorts of things. And so I love old papers. I love old books. I love documents and records and all those things. So today we are thrilled to be joined by Matthew Herzog. He's the manager of information services. There's more title to all of that. So let's kind of jump into that. First of all, RML.
ARMA, Records Management Liaison. So I assist the Records Management Officer of the RRC with everything records related.
And that is when we're going to kind of dive into some of that when we're talking records related. I have been into, and I know we call it Central Records sometimes. It's not really its official title, but
We've been called Central Records so long, that's what most people know us by. Our official title is Information Services.
So when we're talking records, what are we talking about kind of broader? Sure. I mean, speaking from either if I'm an operator or I'm a member of the public, what do we mean by records?
The Railroad Commission is required to keep records according to its retention schedule, and most of the records on our retention schedule have a permanent retention period, meaning that if the Railroad Commission creates a record, we have to keep it for as long as the record will exist.
And so when we're talking about those sort of things, I know a lot of the big ones when we have folks coming out to do research and things and they come to the commission or they hire someone to come here and things like that. So it's a lot of different old land records or permits, or how does all of that?
Production records, permits, completion reports, plugging reports. There's a lot of different records associated with drilling, completing, and plugging a well. So we have to retain most of those forever.
So when we kind of say forever, we also kind of look back in our history as the oldest regulatory agency in the state. Some of these records are old.
Sure. I think we found permit records going back to 1917, I think is the oldest one we found. There was drilling of oil and gas before the Railroad Commission actually obtained authority to regulate oil and gas. So some of the records we have are pretty old.
A century plus.
Yes.
And are these digital? Are these hard copy? Are they both?
The records I'm referring to from 1917, we found them on microfilm. They existed on paper for a good portion of their life. Then they were filmed onto microfilm, and the microfilm became the official record at that time.
And you said part of that with original paper documents, and then you said microfilm. But I know we've made a lot of progress as well digitizing these records now.
A lot of the microfilm that we have has been digitized. I think, roughly speaking, we have about 40,000 rolls of microfilm, and a third of those have been digitized now. And I think from the microfilm, we've imaged about 33 million images.
And so when we're talking these records, they're not all just here in Austin, because, we're a state agency, so you're talking district offices, you're talking all across the state.
Well, we've recently completed a district office imaging project where the paper copies of records from the district office were brought to us. We've looked and put our hands on each of those paper records to make sure that it wasn't a copy of a record that's already online. And if it was original, we made sure it was processed and imaged and made available online. And I think from that effort, there was around 3 million original documents found and imaged and placed online.
And now online, so that's available for, again, operators, general public, anyone who...
Operators, general public, engineers in the field, pluggers in the field, inspectors that need to look at something up real quick. So it benefits us as an agency and as the public and the operators.
Now, so I have to ask kind of a personal question. What got you into all of this? What's sort of your background in records management and things like that? Because I know that it's an intense field.
When I talk to other records management liaisons and coordinators from other agencies, a lot of the people that end up in this field don't start out in the field. They kind of, from one reason or another. I started out with a company that provided group home services to people with mental disabilities in the field, and there were a lot of records associated with that job that needed to be maintained and upkept according to Texas regulations. So that was sort of my first toe in the water when it came to records and the responsibility of keeping those records. And that was just a natural transition to the RRC.
And how long have you been with the RRC?
Just over 13 years.
Oh, wow. So you've really seen this digitization expansion.
Started the digitization. That effort really started while I was here. So hopefully I get to see that continue for years to come.
So what is the process really for taking, like you said, some of these microfilms? I mean, I've seen those before, again, back in universities. They like you get these little things and you get it's a hard copy for folks who are unfamiliar of what they look like. How does that then get digitized, uploaded, all of that?
Well, we utilize a third-party vendor for our digitization services. So we'll gather the film, document it, label it, process it, inventory it, ship it to our third-party vendor. They'll image all of the images on a single roll of film. They'll provide image stabilization services, make it look readable. Because a lot of the film is very old. So a lot of the images aren't easily legible without some sort of image alteration processing. So the third-party vendor will make sure most of the images on the film are viewable before placing them online for the public.
And that saves sort of the end user a lot. I mean, because again, I remember you get microfilm, you're running it through a machine, you're doing trying to scan. These are now are they searchable, or how does all of that?
Easily searchable. We've made sure that they appear online exactly as they are on the rolls of film. So anybody that was previously familiar with the way on how to conduct research for historical records of the film, the way to do that is exactly as the way they are online.
I think a fascinating part, we're talking about, we have the records, we send them to the third party. Can you talk about, and Bryce kind of mentioned it, the district offices, you and your team, talk about that process, going to the district offices. You guys are getting like U-Haul trucks,
Sure.
and these are boxes and boxes and boxes.
Yeah. We had to rent U-Haul trucks to get boxes from the district offices. I think the last district office we visited was Midland, and I think we picked up about 1,000 boxes or close to. It took us 3 trucks. We couldn't load the trucks up to the ceiling because the weight of the paper was so great. We didn't want to bottom out the trucks and ride on the axles all the way home.
That's fascinating. And I mean, you're going to Lubbock, Pampa, Wichita Falls, San Angelo, everywhere.
Yeah. Fortunately, that's done, so we don't have to do it.
Yeah, it's a tough process. I was able to witness just some of the trucks coming back. And yeah, these are you said full boxes. They're heavy, and credit to your team, because that's a lot of work to do.
It was a lot of work. Every piece of paper had to be checked against all of our online systems to make sure what we were viewing was what we had in our hands was either an original document or a copy of something that had already been scanned previously.
Was there anything during that process when you guys were going through and you were like, oh wow, like was there any like neat documents that you were finding, or is it for routine, or I'm just curious?
It was always pretty routine. We're always finding something that really didn't belong. Maybe we got an extra inspection report that really wasn't part of the completion, so we had to send it back to the district office. But it's always fun looking at those old records and seeing the process that happened back then to create those records.
Oh yeah, because I'm sure a form from 70 years ago is vastly different.
Yes. The only thing you have to look at the plats. They're much better these days. Some of the plats that show the location of the well as opposed in relation to the lease lines or survey lines, they're very well done these days. And if you look at some of the older records, early 1900s, the plat consisted of a hand-drawn square with a dot in the middle.
Yeah, and now we're digitized. It's also fascinating to me, and this also, this helps us in terms of even transparency.
Mm-hmm. The same record is available to anybody that wants it. Operators, public, RRC personnel, everybody has the same access to it.
And you can literally access RRC records anywhere in the world. There's an internet connection.
Anywhere on the world. When you're riding with someone in the car, you can access the records on your phone.
So for anyone listening out there right now to the podcast, you just pull out your phone and rrc.texas.gov and hop right in, and you can look up old permits from 1917.
Yes, I think we have every permit we have available online, whether or not it's on film, was submitted and scanned in paper form, or is electronically submitted now. We have the whole life cycle of all permits ever submitted to the RRC available online.
If you think about it, it's useful to have these, accessible on your phone. If somebody out there in the field that needs to visually see it or inspect it, or, like Landman or something like that they can just get it right there, double check it. It's online so long as there's an internet connection. And nowadays, you have Starlink and stuff. You can get internet in the middle of the ocean.
Aside from digitization of these records, what else do you do for the commission?
For the commission, information services, we provide a whole lot of different services. We're sort of a grab bag of different functions. We have a receptionist that greets the visitors to the RRC. There's about 200 to 300 people a month that visit the RRC in person for a number of different reasons. And our receptionist is really good about understanding what it is exactly they need and then forwarding them to the person, department, or place they need to go. We have a public sales department. A lot of fees, permits, and processes can be paid for through the RRC online payment portal. But sometimes people still want to pay over the phone or in person, and we have a public sales department that process those payments. If I remember correctly, they did about $8 million in payments processing. They processed about $8 million in payments over the last 4 quarters. We have a public area. We have a number of different film viewers and computer terminals so people can come in and do their own research. They don't have to do it online. That way they have access to all the records on microfilm that haven't been digitized yet. We have a number of research staff that are available to help public visitors when they walk in. Those research staff also answer phone calls for the public. We help them walk through the RRC website online to get to what they're looking for. We have a research team. If there's a record that someone needs that they don't have the time to search for, or if it's an inspector or plugger in the field that needs records that they can't find, we provide those research services. We'll find those records for them, send it to them. We also have a files team. The RRC still produces a lot of paper. So our files team helps prepare that paper for imaging and being put online as well. And they also process a lot of the old historical paper that the RRC still has. We're starting an imaging project where environmental permitting services, in their storerooms, they have an estimated 10 million documents that we're going to help them image and place online. So that'll be our next big project.
How does it feel, I guess, looking from the sense, because you said you were here when digitization and all of this started, we're approaching 100 million, getting closer to all these types of things. You kind of looking at the scope of this project. I mean, obviously there's got to be a sense of pride to all of it, but what's kind of the hey, is there a light at the end of the tunnel, or is it we're never going to stop making records?
Well, eventually I think we're going to stop making paper records, and things will be sent and submitted to the RRC electronically. We will still have a role in processing all the historical records and assisting the public in finding those records and those documents online. So our roles may change in the future, but I think we'll always still have a place with the RRC.
And how does seeing all of this now? I mean, does 100 million, is that what's kind of the sense like from the beginning to where you've made it? It's we've really done this.
Or? We've really. I can look back on the number of images we've had in storage, and I think just a few years ago we were closer to 60 million than we are 100 million. So we've come a long way. It is a sense of accomplishment, and everybody in information services in some way gets to help the public directly. So that's always a great feeling too.
So is that 100 million pieces of paper, or are the records that are just more than one page?
100 million images, pieces of paper that have been imaged, or pieces of paper that were on microfilm and digitized.
Because I can't even imagine what 100 million pieces of paper would look like. I mean, gosh, that's a lot of work that your team, everybody done over the years. I mean, that's incredible.
Yeah. Well, we estimate like a banker box of paper to be about 2,000 pieces of paper. So,
and if you've ever been in the records here, Bryce, I don't know if you've had the chance to go down there yet. Yeah, a lot of it's cleared out now, but especially when this was going on through the district offices, I mean, there were boxes upon boxes wrapped in the saran wrap. That's
pallets of boxes.
Pallets of boxes. And if you think about 2,000 pages and you see all those boxes in there, I think that's just a small perspective of the work that you guys have been doing.
Sort of a silly question, just in that same vein. Mm-hmm. Do you know what the first document digitized was?
It was our production series of microfilm. There was a lot of interest for production records. We have, on the RRC website, we have production from about 1993 forward, but anything prior to 1993 was on microfilm. So people were always coming to check the production records, placing a request for that. And we digitized all the production records. And amazingly, right after that was done, we've never received another request for production research. So
the system works.
The system worked.
Now that you're working on getting everything online, so say if somebody, say like 20 years ago, somebody had a family member, say someone that lives in Houston had a family member, say out in Midland, Seminole, somewhere out there, and they have, say, oil on their land. How easy of a process was it, or difficult then for, say, the person living in Houston to get those records that were way out in West Texas? Where I know the obvious answer, now it's a lot easier, but what would that process would have been even like 20 years ago?
Initially, they probably would have contacted the district office to see if the district office had copies of those records. If not, then that person would have either had to make the trip to Austin or hire someone to come to Austin to look through those records. Just saving the trip alone is a big boon to the public.
The trip, or even hiring people. I mean, you're spending money just to get these records, where now it's free.
There's usually a couple different options for people when they want to search for or have someone look through the records. They can either contact us directly and hire us to research it, or they can hire a third-party consultant to come in and search those records.
Because one thing with the records is they are detailed, and because I've dabbled a little bit on the website just because I was curious on what it all looked like. They are dense, and I say that again
dense.
as a former history major. There's a lot of records.
There are a lot of records. You can, just getting beyond the normal permit completion and plug-in reports for records, we have all sorts of different things. We have a potential test. We have the W10, G10s, which are the yearly test of the well. Mm-hmm. We have plant refinery reports, which is a really popular ask for research. The R3 form is pretty popular. We have proration schedules. We have site remediations. We even have the historical versions of the H8, and that's always been my favorite historical record. The H8 is a report for loss of product of just over 5 barrels. And the reason I like it is it's a real story form. The operator has to list the reason for the loss. And the more modern H8s always list the reason as equipment failure or human error. But if you look into some of the older H8s, they'll write really interesting stories, like a cow bumped up against a valve because they had an itch and they scratched and lost some product. So the old H8s always have a story to them.
Oh, that's really interesting.
I like that.
Thank you so much for joining us. Sure. This is, again, I think I could talk about this one for a really long time and maybe just wander over into the records and just look at some of the old...
Well, the old H8s are online now. You don't have to wander over there.
Digitization. There you go. See, it's even easy for us as RRC employees to get
I
these
like
records.
the old book smell, though.
Yeah.
Well, I like, I like reading actual books instead of like online books. Yeah. So that's going through the paper. I don't know. There's something satisfying about looking at actual paper, but if you're living somewhere around the world, you don't have to do that. Just go
You don't have to do that.
rrc.texas.gov, and you can look up anything you need.
But again, thanks so much. This is really interesting stuff. I know a lot of folks. Y'all get, like you said, you get a lot of traffic every month. We have a lot of people interested in all this. So this is just really important information to get out there to everybody. So thank you so much for sharing that. It's been a pretty good just outpouring of support from folks who have been listening to this, tuning in, and all those types of things. So we made some decisions here. I don't know if you wanted to share the news.
The listeners are going to make us work harder. I mean, that's just what it is. They got to make us work. But yeah, we're actually going to expand the number of podcast episodes because there's been a great response and people enjoy it. And we have just so many talented people within the agency that we would love to talk to and love to share their stories of what they do and how they help the people in the state. So the podcasts, you may realize that, well, hey, there's more now. We're actually going to start putting them out every other week. So we'll put one out, and then 2 weeks later, another one comes out. 2 weeks later, another one comes out. So there's going to be more Texas Energy on Track, and we're going to be rolling down the tracks with these episodes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited for this. It gives us really kind of a good opportunity to, again, share some more of these stories. There's so many, when we were kind of brainstorming some of this, it's like, well, could we even do like 12 episodes a year? Would we have 12 topics we can talk about? And then all of a sudden it was like, we started making a list. It's like, oh yeah, we could definitely do...
Yeah, we're good.
Twice a month. Yeah, this won't be an issue whatsoever. There will be 2 episodes a month for the best way to kind of think about it, as opposed to being monthly. So we're excited to be talking to y'all more frequently in the future.
We are keeping busy, putting out an episode every 2 weeks. And, if you want to follow along, of course, subscribe to the podcast. We're on whatever podcast app that you listen to, what you're listening to right now. Make sure you subscribe because you get notifications when we post a new episode. And I know usually we post it in the middle of the night just to make sure it's uploaded in time by the morning. But when you wake up, you look at your phone, there's a notification right there that tells you, hey, we got another episode that has been released. So you can do that, or you can follow along on social media. We are on X, of course, at TXRRC. And then on LinkedIn, Facebook, Railroad Commission of Texas, Instagram, Railroad Commission of Texas. And we will be posting podcast content to those pages. So clips from the show, reminders when the next show is, or highlights, things like that. So we're going to be putting out, our social media team is busy putting out content for the podcast. So follow along there. And yeah, we have exciting topics, and I mean, we're going to be doing this a lot more, which is great. And we thank the listeners for making us do more episodes, because it helps to get out, the message and the hard work of the people at the RRC.
Yeah, absolutely. None of this would be possible without the folks who are tuning in. So as always, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll talk to y'all soon.